Part 23. A Middle School Cartoonist. Author, Mao Do Sde Mao. Chapter 221. Chapter 221 Takahashi Makoto? No, it's the crazy cartoonist Feng Guangai Yuan Kuma. Although Ogata Slime used the sign of Ogata Office when planning this concert, many people came for Ogata Rina. For Yuki, a newcomer who just debuted, it is still difficult to stand in the whole audience. Transforming from a supporting role to a protagonist may be an opportunity that many people have been looking forward to for a long time, but for Morikawa Yuki, a little face, as a temporary replacement for Rina, the pressure of suddenly changing from a passerby to a darling under the spotlight is quite great. To do a good concert, it is not just to let the idol star stand on the stage and sing loudly. Whether it is the connection of music or the change of lighting, all of this requires various coordination between the front and back of the stage. Therefore, for many audiences, it is only a concert of a few hours, and it takes many days of rehearsal to rehearse and preview. As a newcomer who debuted not long ago, it was natural for him to be a little nervous when encountering such a scene. A mistake made by Yuki, a little bottom face, forced the rehearsal to be interrupted and repeated again. Although the staff did not complain, sometimes silent accusations are more uncomfortable, especially for species like the little bottom face. The damage effect is outstanding. Ogata Slime turned into a devil supervisor at this moment, standing under the stage with his arms folded, his face gloomy. Although Rina was a little unwell, her performance was indeed impeccable for Ogata Slime as a musician, but Yuki, a little bottom face, did not perform as well as before. Perhaps because of nervousness, small problems emerged one after another, which gave Ogata Slime a headache. Take a break for half an hour. Yuki, come with me. Seeing that Yuki made a mistake again, Ogata Slime had to interrupt the rehearsal and let everyone take a break. Waving at Yuki, Ogata Slime, with an ugly black face, pulled Yuki to a corner for special individual counseling, and at this time, Ogata Slime did not notice that a white figure floated into his territory. Ogata Slime attached great importance to this concert, so the requirements for the people present were extremely strict. If there was a slight mistake, Ogata Slime would pull them to a corner and conduct a brainwashing personality education program. Almost all the staff present had been scolded by Ogata Slime. Therefore, although the staff expressed some sympathy for Yuki who looked aggrieved, facing Ogata Slime with a strong dark aura, no one dared to step forward to help Yuki, even Rina. Tisk. In such a chaotic scene, the guards are too lax. It's easy for spies and assassins to sneak in. When the staff went to rest, Takahashi Makoto, wearing a white coat and a magic sword hanging on his waist, began to wander around the venue, completely ignoring the strange looks of the people around him, and evaluated the entire concert scene by himself. There are no magic guards that can warn and counterattack, no stealth guards are arranged to be on standby in blind spots, even the simplest defense traps are not set, and even at the critical moment, the self-destructing mines that will perish with the enemy are not prepared. Is this what Ogata Slime said? Everything is almost ready? I am so disappointed. This is just a venue for a concert, not a battlefield for the two hostile parties to fight. If it is really arranged according to what you said, how many of the audience who come to watch the concert can go back alive? And, what kind of battlefield is it that requires the use of self-destructing mines, a weapon that harms oneself and kills the enemy? Excuse me, who are you? Takahashi Makoto's words caused the onlookers to complain instinctively, and then they remembered to ask about the identity. Don't you understand? After seeing this, Takahashi Makoto took out the magic sword and shook it. Seeing that the people around him were still confused, he sighed helplessly, took out his mobile phone from the pocket of his white coat, and talked to himself. It's me, the certificate given by the association before is temporarily unusable. Can I use another identity certificate? What? At this time, I still need to apply to the leader and get permission from the 7 apostles? Hey, 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 don't joke at this time. What's wrong with this guy? Seeing Takahashi Makoto's abnormal behavior, several staff members were helpless. It is not okay to let a suspicious person in a white coat stay here, but out of courtesy, you should not interrupt others when they are talking. Humph. Even if I reveal my hidden identity to you this time, there is no need to kill you. Be grateful to the great leader, ants. After putting the phone back into the white coat, Takahashi Makoto kept reaching out to take out a pocket watch from his inner pocket. Do you see the silver pocket watch? This is the identity symbol of the National Alchemist. That's right, I am the legendary Lord Fengguangai Yuan Xiongzhen who has won the title of Sorrowful Alchemist. The previous staff members fell into a Spartan state. Since you already know my identity, why don't you get out of the way immediately? Looking at the petrified staff, Takahashi Makoto frowned a little, his face became gloomy, and slowly drew the magic sword from his waist. Looking at your surprised expressions, I guess you must have heard of this title. But I remember that I don't know you, so that's it, knowing the title but not knowing me, which means that you are the characters on the enemy side. Before several staff members could react, they saw Takahashi Makoto switch to attack mode and prepare to harvest heads. They were immediately frightened and turned pale. Just when Takahashi Makoto was about to perform Bounce Flash, the voice of Ogata Slime sounded, attracting Takahashi Makoto's attention and saving the lives of the staff members. Takahashi Makoto, what are you doing here? Ogata Slime, who had just finished teaching Yuki a lesson, saw a figure in a white coat in the crowd and suddenly felt a headache. He immediately walked over quickly, especially when he saw the sword in Takahashi Makoto's hand. His face instantly became ugly, and he almost roared, "Where is the security? Why did you let an irrelevant person in? Tisk. Ogata Slime, do you want to die once?" At some point, the sword in Takahashi Makoto's hand was already on Ogata Slime's throat. Takahashi Makoto, squinting his right eyes, whispered to Ogata Slime, "Speaking of which, why don't I take advantage of Rina's absence and kill you with a slip of my hand?" Rina, who came out of the bathroom, saw this scene and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. However, she knew Takahashi Makoto's second-year behavior very well, so she didn't worry about her brother's comfort, but walked over quickly. "Makoto, Makoto Takahashi, you're here." Rina just opened her mouth and immediately felt the gazes of Makoto Takahashi and Ogata Slime. She reacted instantly and realized that she couldn't expose her relationship with Makoto Takahashi at this time, so she immediately changed her words and gently pushed away Makoto Takahashi's sword-holding hand. "Makoto Takahashi, and producer Ogata, can you two get along well? You fight and kill as soon as you meet, can't you sit down and talk about music or something?" "Huh? Talking about music with a slime?" Makoto Takahashi curled his lips and turned his head away with disdain. "Don't laugh to death. Talking to this guy, I'm worried that my IQ will be lowered." Ogata Slime rarely switched to the venomous snake mode and blasted Makoto Takahashi with his mouth. This person is Master Makoto Takahashi." In the crowd of onlookers, several people who were accompanying the music exclaimed. Maybe other staff members didn't know, but these people in charge of the accompaniment admired Makoto Takahashi to the extreme. Because the songs and music used in this concert, whether in the lyrics or the composition column, all have Takahashi Makoto's name written on them. Previously, these staff members thought it was just a pseudonym of a certain master, but they didn't expect it to be this weird guy in front of them. Takahashi Makoto? Humph, this is just a pseudonym. When walking in the human world, holding the magic sword in both hands, Takahashi Makoto looked up at everyone with a crazy smile on his face. "That's right, I am the crazy cartoonist, Fengguangai Yuan Kilma. Ha 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 ha. Well, I forgot to say before, congratulations to the senior high school students for completing the trial, but even so, Don't play too proud. Rest on time, forget about staying up late. Take care of yourself, don't think you have nothing to do during the holidays, take this opportunity to do something you want to do, deepen your self-cultivation, such as like a certain cat, comprehend the way of heaven or something. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 222. Cartoonist How Winkuma, white coat, eye mask, and that kind of extremely second-year tone and behavior. A staff member in the crowd showed an unbelievable look on his face, and excitedly shouted to his companions, "No mistake, the guy named Takahashi Makoto is really the legendary cartoonist, How Winkuma." Howin, the real murderer, the staff member next to him nodded blankly, pinching his chin and muttering, he was able to draw his sword and threaten the existence of the great devil Ogata right away. As expected, he is as cruel as his name suggests. Damn. It's not the real murderer, but Kuma, Howin Kuma, the staff member who was excited at the beginning grabbed his companion's collar and roared unwillingly, "You guys don't usually read comics, but the music of your favorite rebellion was all completed by Howin Kuma." What? Is it really the same person? It's such a simple process to fall from confusion to shock. However, Takahashi Makoto's next move made several staff members who had just developed the idea of admiration in their hearts completely speechless. The servant swordsman obeyed the call. "May I ask if you are my master, Ogata?" Which, Takahashi Makoto knelt on one knee towards Rina and performed a standard knight's salute, "My sword will be with your life, and I will fight for your honor, my witch." For Takahashi Makoto's actions, Ogata Age's mouth twitched constantly, and it seemed that at this moment, the skill called slime shake seemed to be completely awakened. "Didn't I warn this bastard several times before not to do such a thing that would easily reveal his relationship with Rina in front of everyone?" Ogata Age covered his forehead with a headache. It seems that normal communication methods are completely ineffective. Obviously, it has been explained countless times before, but now this kind of knight swears allegiance. Anyone with a discerning eye can see that the relationship between Rina and Takahashi Makoto, the bastard, is not ordinary, right? This place is not suitable. We need to find a quiet place to talk. Ogata Slime suppressed his anger that was about to explode, and whispered to Takahashi Makoto with a gloomy face, especially the last few words, and emphasized his tone. "Humph. Just a slime, you still want to cast mental magic on me?" Takahashi Makoto looked up at Ogata Age and cast a contemptuous look on him without any hesitation, "Just a mortal bone, no matter how hard you try, it's useless." "Is this the cartoonist you have always admired and even admired, Fengguangai Yuankuma?" The staff member who was pulled by his companion by the collar before slapped his good friend's hand away, "Tisk. I thought he was some powerful big shot. It turns out to be just a guy with a second-year syndrome." The unlucky child had not finished his simple complaints when a sharp sword suddenly broke through the air and pierced his feet with a millimeter of distance. Looking at the shaking hilt, the unlucky kid, who had a bit of disdain on his face before, swallowed his saliva unconsciously when he saw Takahashi Makoto arguing with Ogata Age over there. "How dare you question my believers and followers like this, pagan? You are really brave." Takahashi Makoto, who broke free from Ogata Age's shackles, slowly picked up the magic sword, with a disdainful sneer on his face. "Tell me the name of your magic, and the church you belong to. I, Fengguangai Yuankuma, will personally lead millions of monsters to defeat and eliminate the evil forces behind you." "You, stop it." Grabbing Takahashi Makoto's collar, Ogata Age coldly glanced at the curious onlookers, and his words were like a freezing breath, making everyone shudder. "Take another half an hour to rest. I need to talk to Takahashi Makoto about music. As for what happened just now, as you can see, this guy has some personality problems. Don't worry too much about it. Just do your job. Tisk. Ogata Slime, I accidentally fell into your territory this time, so I gave you a face. I'm not worried about being besieged or anything, I just don't want the witch to see the bloody killing, otherwise, I would have switched to the mist killer mode. Takahashi Makoto, who was dragged away by Ogata Eiji, did not struggle desperately. Instead, he raised his thumb and showed a hearty smile to the speechless onlookers. Stupid human, a mere slime can't seal me. If you want to completely seal Feng Guangai Yuan Kuma, you must offer the witch as a sacrifice. So, I will be back. Ha 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 ha. Makoto-kun is really. Seeing Takahashi Makoto being dragged away by Ogata Eiji, Rina pouted and muttered softly. Why did you come here? Ogata Eiji frowned and looked at Takahashi Makoto with a look of disgust on his face. Now is the critical moment of rehearsal. No matter how ignorant you are, please don't show up to make trouble at this time. Love and peace are the themes of building this society. Takahashi Makoto said irrelevant words, which made Ogata Eiji frown. Just when Ogata Eiji was about to go berserk, Takahashi Makoto said the purpose of his trip quietly. Hey, Ogata Slime, you live in a world of love and peace, why are you so irritable? This is not good, not good. The source of my anger is a bastard named Takahashi Makoto, can I say that? Ogata Eiji, who had internal injuries from the forced suppression, looked at Takahashi Makoto with a gloomy face. Ogata Eiji could swear that as long as Takahashi Makoto didn't give a reasonable explanation, even if the bastard in front of him was his brother-in-law, even if he didn't care about the difference in strength, he would definitely beat Takahashi Makoto. It seems that you also feel that ominous feeling. Looking at Ogata Eiji, who was on the verge of going berserk, Takahashi Makoto was extremely surprised, but his face still had that kind of contemptuous smile that deserved a beating. Although the slime is the weakest creature, because of its weakness, it has invested a lot of skill points in the instinctive talent of avoiding danger. That kind of thing, how could that kind of thing happen? From knowing that Rina was completed one shot by Takahashi Makoto, to Rina's unexpected request to participate in this concert, although Ogata Eiji was very satisfied with Rina's ethics as a professional artist, he always felt uneasy in his heart. Facing Makoto Takahashi's straightforward words, although he subconsciously denied Makoto Takahashi's words, Ogata Eiji's frown showed the opposite meaning. Hesitated, Ogata Slime, you hesitated. Makoto Takahashi looked at Eiji Ogata coldly, as if he had completely changed into a different person. Although your body and your intuition gave you a lot of hints, and you had a direct feeling of danger, you refused to think in this direction. Humph. You are really a useless guy. You can't protect Her Highness the Witch like this. So. Eiji Ogata looked at Makoto Takahashi helplessly. You came here because you noticed that something bad was going to happen to Rina, and because of that vague intuition, did you come here? Only ghosts would believe this reason. Can I say that your sudden increase in IQ is the result of the awakening of the sister control soul? Takahashi Makoto nodded with a serious expression on his face. At the beginning, I didn't want to think so, but when I stepped into this barrier, I already felt it. The whole world is hostile to Her Highness the Witch. This week is the week of plague, and a certain cat is entangled by the diseased lowly. This week's production has dropped sharply, and a certain cat is deeply sorry. I say sorry to all the readers, and I say sorry to my own body. I hope that the weekend will be reversed, and next week will enter a period of doubling production. Meow. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist Mao. Chapter 223. Common sense of middle school students is definitely beyond the understanding of normal humans. This is the lesson that Ogata Eiji learned from Takahashi Makoto a long time ago. But looking at the solemn face of the man in front of him, saying such words with a serious expression, Ogata Eiji still felt a kind of helplessness that could not be expressed in words, because this middle school bastard in front of him had a close relationship with him. According to the normal worldview, he could be regarded as his brother-in-law. But, if possible, Ogata Eiji really wanted to kick Takahashi Makoto out. Facing Takahashi Makoto's swearing and certainty that bad things would happen in the future, Ogata Eiji was really speechless. Perhaps Takahashi Makoto's worries are not redundant, because Ogata Eiji also has this feeling, but saying it directly is another matter. Just like when you meet someone, even if someone tells you righteously what will happen to you in the future and what kind of misfortune you will encounter, will you believe it? And even if it really happens in the future, many people's first thought is not how to be surprised at the prophetic attributes of that person, but to have strong doubts, suspecting that everything was caused by the previous person behind the scenes. So when Takahashi Makoto said this, Ogata Eiji really wanted to beat Takahashi Makoto up. Because Ogata Eiji felt that if something bad really happened to Rina in the future, it would definitely be caused by this guy. For example, drawing circles and cursing, stabbing villains, etc. Ogata Slime, this time, considering that the target of the evil in this world is the witch Rina, I won't bother with you. Takahashi Makoto looked at Ogata Eiji's pale face and patted his shoulder comfortingly. Don't worry, I have a plan to deal with it. Believe in the omnipotent majesty Fengguangai Yuan Kyoma, everything, that's right, everything is under my control. So, what are your plans? It's not that his thoughts suddenly changed, but if he doesn't take this opportunity to ask clearly now, Ogata Eiji will definitely not sleep well at night. Who knows what Takahashi Makoto is going to do? For example, at the critical moment of the performance, he suddenly appeared on the stage and kidnapped Rina, forcing everyone to enter the Brave vs Demon King mode. For example, he quietly took Rina away before the show started, and then left a card with a code, forcing everyone to enter the deciphering game or something like that. By then, not only Ogata Eiji, but even the audience at the scene, would be shocked. Humph. Let me show you my absolute summoning contract of Phoenix Court. Taking a deep breath, Takahashi Makoto suddenly called out loudly, an existence darker than darkness, a demon wandering in hell, show your true form at this moment. My most loyal servant, cross the barriers of time and space and come to me, Sebastian Chan. Sebastian Chan. Is he the butler who always squinted his eyes and was ordered by Takahashi Makoto to follow Rina, with a sinister smile on his face? By the way, is that elusive butler actually here? Ogata Eiji was a little confused, because since Rina started practicing, he couldn't find the butler at all, but every time when Rina took a break, the butler in a black tuxedo always appeared beside Rina with a smile on his face. But this time, Ogata Eiji sneered at Takahashi Makoto. Because up to now, Ogata Eiji has not seen the elusive butler all day today, this means that Sebastian has not appeared here at all. So Takahashi Makoto's second-year summoning technique is absolutely impossible. I am here to obey your call, young master. Sebastian's voice came from Ogata Eiji's head. Before Ogata Eiji could react, a black figure suddenly fell from the sky. Although he only saw a back figure, Ogata Eiji was sure that the man in black who knelt on one knee in front of Takahashi Makoto was Sebastian. But, I say, where were you hiding before? Looking up at the lighting stand on the top, Ogata Eiji couldn't help but twitch his mouth. That shouldn't be an illusion, right? If Ogata Eiji remembered correctly, Sebastian seemed to have jumped down from above just now, right? In accordance with the young master's orders, I have been secretly guarding Princess Rina. Sebastian stood up, with a kind smile on his face, bowed slightly to Ogata Eiji, and pointed to the lighting stand on the top with his right hand wearing a white glove. When Princess Rina was performing on the stage before, I was always on it. If there was any unexpected situation, I could rescue Princess Rina in the first time. Lighting stand swallowing hard, Ogata Eiji looked up again, with a look of astonishment on his face. I say, Sebastian, you have been hiding there? Speaking of jumping down from there, it's about the height of 2 floors. Can ordinary humans jump down from that height and be as elegant as you? Ogata Eiji's eyes kept wandering between Takahashi Makoto and Sebastian Chan. Should we say that people of the same kind gather together, and people of the same kind separate? These monsters around Takahashi Makoto are all challenges to normal human beings. Ogata Slime, see. This is the ability of my housekeeper Sabas-chan. Makoto Takahashi was quite satisfied with Ogata Eiji's astonishment. He pulled out the magic sword-shattering star and waved it in the air several times, saying with high morale, "The demon housekeeper from the depths of hell, and my phoenix court Kuma who holds a treasure, unless the Earth-kun is so depressed that he commits suicide, no one can hurt the witch Rina." Right, my contractor Sabas-chan. No. This is not the problem now. Ogata Eiji looked at the master and servant in front of him with a headache, and he was not feeling well. The problem I am most worried about now is... Sorry, brother. I have something to say to Makoto-kun. Before Ogata Eiji finished speaking, Rina suddenly ran over and pulled Takahashi Makoto away. I'm more relieved about you. Looking at the two people's backs as they walked away, Ogata Eiji turned to the smiling Sebastian and said, "But the problem now is that I'm more worried about Takahashi Makoto doing some strange and abnormal behavior than worrying about what will happen to Rina. The young master won't do some boring things, so..." Sebastian bowed slightly, with a smile on his face full of inexplicable meaning. "You worry too much, Mr. Ogata Eiji." "Humph. I hope so." Ogata Eiji snorted coldly and turned away angrily. "Even if something happens at that time." Looking at the back of Ogata Eiji leaving, Sebastian showed an expectant smile on his face. The young master's original intention was just to make the whole performance more gorgeous. So it's such an interesting thing, why do humans always want to stop it because they feel uneasy? I'm sorry for not updating yesterday, because when I went home, I was baptized by heavy rain and entered the high-temperature fantasy mode. Although I'm not feeling well, I have to update one chapter today anyway. Otherwise, if you think that a certain cat has no little ding-ding, if I feel better at night, I will update one more chapter. If I enter the sleep mode early, then a certain cat can only say sorry, I will update more tomorrow, I'm really sorry. The above is meow. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist Mao. Chapter 224. The concert was scheduled to start at 7 o'clock, but it was only 6 o'clock now, and there was already a long line at the entrance of the venue. Let alone the crowds of spectators waiting outside the venue to enter. As Rina's contractor, Takahashi Makoto naturally got the right to enter the venue in advance. However, Takahashi Makoto was sitting in the dressing room with a playful look on his face, watching the rather bloody scene happening in front of him. A pretty boy in a well-dressed suit, holding a large bouquet of roses in his hand, stood in front of Rina with an expectant look on his face, and kept saying something. But Rina looked absent-minded, perfunctorily dealing with it. Takahashi Makoto was sitting in the corner, shaking his head constantly, and his eyes were sneaking glances at the pretty boy holding flowers from time to time. Since Miss Rina debuted, I have been Miss Rina's most loyal fan. The pretty boy brushed his bangs with a self-satisfied look, looking at Rina expectantly. "Do I have the honor to invite Miss Rina to dinner with me? Although I appreciate your kindness, I'm sorry, I have to prepare for the performance later." Rina looked back at Takahashi Makoto, who was smiling strangely, frowned a little, a trace of helplessness flashed in her eyes, and tactfully rejected the pretty boy's invitation. "So, if I remember correctly, Miss Rina's performance in the evening is not long, right?" The pretty boy took a step forward, trying to get closer to Rina, staring at Rina with an obsessed face, his tone full of refusal. "Since the time is not too long, it's not a problem to have dinner together or something." "What's the matter?" "I'm sorry, Mr. Iwazaki, I appreciate your kindness." Rina looked back at Makoto Takahashi, her face flushed. "Tonight, I have already made an appointment with someone in advance." "Really? In that case, I won't force Miss Rina, there's a long way to go." The pretty boy named Iwazaki showed a trace of embarrassment on his face after being rejected. He looked at Makoto Takahashi, who was sitting there slowly pulling out the magic sword, and a trace of gloom flashed in his eyes, but it didn't last too long. Instead, he turned his attention back to Rina and handed the rose in his hand to Rina. "Then please accept this bouquet of roses representing my heart, Miss Rina." This, no need, even if Makoto Takahashi was not here, Rina would not accept this bouquet of flowers, not to mention that Makoto Takahashi was also beside her. "I know that my previous words were a bit abrupt, but Miss Rina, Hanamoto is innocent, so, please accept it, Miss Rina." The words that made people reluctant to refuse were ruined by the wretched look of Iwazaki the pretty boy. "Hanamoto is innocent?" Such words and such tone, ha 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 ha. Takahashi Makoto, who had just drawn out the magic sword and was about to cut this stubborn pretty boy into 17 pieces, almost laughed to death. "Damn, it's just a wretched pretty boy, can't you stop being so literary? Lady Ruhwa is 100 times better than you when she says such words, okay? I was very concerned just now, this, strangely dressed person is." Although Takahashi Makoto tried his best to hold back his laughter, the smile on his face was caught by Iwazaki the pretty boy. Iwazaki's tone sounded sinister. Although Takahashi Makoto didn't look at the pretty boy, he could also feel the strong hostility and hatred. Iwazaki had noticed that when Rina was talking to him, she always looked back frequently, and seemed to be quite concerned about the strangely dressed person in front of her. Takahashi Makoto's expression of watching the show as if no one else was watching, combined with Rina's nervous expression before, Iwazaki felt that the relationship between the two was a little unusual, and he felt a little annoyed instantly. In addition, after being rejected by Rina many times just now, Iwazaki was already a little angry, but the pretty boy couldn't vent it to Rina. After all, humans are such hypocritical hypocrites. No matter how much resentment they have in their hearts, they have to pretend to be polite on the surface. Therefore, as a witness to all the actions, Takahashi Makoto naturally became the object of Iwazaki's anger. In the final analysis, venting anger is a kind of inferior nature that humans cannot eradicate. Humph. If you want to know something, you must pay the corresponding price. Takahashi Makoto slowly got up, slowly came to Iwazaki, squinting his eyes and staring at the pretty boy. "Since you want to know Yuji's real name, you must have already been prepared to face death. Looking at your outfit, you should be the actor who will perform with you later, right?" Iwazaki's Iobalian didn't understand what Takahashi Makoto was talking about, but seeing Takahashi Makoto's indifferent look, Iwazaki's Iobalian was a little confused, with a proud look on his face, and said disdainfully, "Although your performance is very good, it's not time to perform yet. Please leave immediately, I have something to discuss with Miss Rina." "So? Is this your awareness?" In this case, since he chose to stand in the enemy camp, Takahashi Makoto naturally chose to deal with it the way he treats his enemies. After taking a deep breath, Takahashi Makoto began to release the pressure of the second-level devil. "Humph. Bastard, who allowed you, a low-level creature, to look up to me? Bastard." Iwazaki's Iobalian's face instantly became ugly when Takahashi Makoto suddenly switched to the second-level devil mode. As the eldest son of the Iwazaki group, it was the first time that Iwazaki heard someone call him like this. Do you know who I am? I'm from the Iwazaki group." Tisk. "That kind of thing doesn't matter." Takahashi Makoto slowly drew out the magic sword, his eyes fixed on the sword, his tone full of disdain. "To me, scum, bastards, scum, pretty boys, etc., are actually the same. So, do you want to die once?" Although he was quite unhappy with Takahashi Makoto's words, Iwazaki the pretty boy had not completely lost his mind and clashed with Takahashi Makoto. Especially looking at the magic sword flashing with cold light in Takahashi Makoto's hand, Iwazaki naturally would not choose to fight with Takahashi Makoto. After all, in Iwazaki's view, there will be plenty of opportunities to deal with such a small character in the future. The pretty boy Iwazaki left in disgrace, and he didn't even say a few harsh words, which made Takahashi Makoto, who was expecting it, speechless. However, seeing the gloomy face of the other party when he left, Takahashi Makoto wanted to switch to murderer mode and chase him directly to perform the 17 divisions or something. Hey, Makoto, that Iwazaki is. Rina's face was a little unnatural, and she wanted to explain something to Makoto Takahashi, but was stopped by Makoto Takahashi. Which, my sword exists to protect you. Not to mention a mere scum. Makoto Takahashi waved to Rina, even if I am against the whole world, I, Fengguangai Yuan-kuma, am not afraid. So don't worry, everything is under my control. Makoto, Rina hugged Makoto Takahashi gently, whispered in her ear, wait a little longer, I will definitely give you a surprise then. Surprise. Hey, which, you have said this many times. But what is the so-called surprise? Turning around and hugging Rina gently, Makoto Takahashi scratched his head in confusion. Looking at Rina's smiling face, he knew that it was the same as before, and he couldn't ask anything. Since Rina was unwilling to say, Takahashi Makoto could only shake his head helplessly. I know, since you insist on doing so, then I will look forward to it seriously. Sigh, you should have a good rest next. I will go to set up the defensive barrier and traps against the enemy. Mr. Makoto, remember what I told you before. When the time comes. Rina gently waved her hand and slowly closed the door of the dressing room. I see, no wonder Ogata Slime was so reluctant to come in early at the beginning. Takahashi Makoto leaned against the door, gently wiped the magic sword in his hand, and muttered softly, the task I received today is only to guard Her Majesty the Witch, not the task of conquering the pretty boy, Tisk. What a pity. Sorry, I guess I will miss the appointment today. Something happened at home. There is only one update today. I am very sorry. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 225. There is no doubt that the pretty boy who was able to enter the venue first was naturally bewitched by Ogata Slime. Although he didn't say anything in front of Rina at the time, Takahashi Makoto was still quite angry. Hey! That pretty boy knew at a glance that he was not a good thing. That stupid idiot Ogata Slime actually put him into the venue in advance. The person who was complaining was naturally Takahashi, who was patrolling the venue. Cheng, but in the middle of complaining, Takahashi Cheng suddenly stopped, with a disdainful smile on his face. Hey! That's it? Ogata Slime, that dead girl Control, is really. According to Ogata Slime's sister Control attribute, Takahashi Makoto was in the stage of dating Rina before, and was made things difficult by Ogata Slime in every possible way. Even now he has become the contractor of which Rina, Takahashi Makoto. Although the relationship with Ogata Slime is not as tense as before, it has not improved much either. Although he completed the hidden side mission of One Shot into the Soul and made Ogata Slime recognize the contract between Takahashi Makoto and Rina, the camp relationship between the two men has not changed much, at most. It just changed from a hostile relationship to a sinister relationship. So here comes the question, can a qualified girl controller, especially a die-hard girl controller like Ogata Slime, allow his sister to be pestered by a pretty boy? The answer goes without saying, so Ogata Slime brought in Makoto Takahashi and the pretty boy in advance just to implement the strategy of killing someone with a borrowed knife or driving the tiger to devour the wolf. Hey, that guy Ogata Slime actually dares to plot against me. Makoto Takahashi looked at the figure flashing past in the corner, with an expectant smile on his face. In that case, Let's turn the concert into a banquet for monsters and become the most ferocious ghost in our Phoenix Academy. After today, I will rule the whole world as the master of demons and demons. Ha 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 ha. At the same time, because he was frightened by Takahashi Saichuji's pressure, pretty face Iwazaki entered the VIP room in advance with a gloomy expression. That bastard. That damn little bastard. As the eldest son of the Iwazaki consortium, he had always been the only one to bully others. When had he ever been so angry? Although he has received a high level of education, he speaks such vulgar words, completely losing the human-like appearance he pretended to have before. Sure enough, the more knowledge one has, the more hypocritical people become. Master Iwazaki, what happened? It's not a butler like Sabas-chan, he's just a simple servant around Iwazaki. However, as a qualified servant, the most important thing is to learn to please your master, and when your master is in trouble, change your job to become a counselor like Wolong or dog-headed military advisor, and help your master solve his problems. From these two aspects alone, this servant seems to be quite competent. However, if you want to transfer to a deified monster like Wolong, the possibility seems to be infinitely close to zero, so, the qualified follower transfers to the title of counselor, dog-headed strategist. What else could there be? Iwazaki's face was naturally extremely angry about what just happened, and his tone was almost roaring. Let's not talk about that little bastard, even that bitch Rina is so shameless. Isn't that right? An idol star? With the strength of our Iwazaki Foundation. Although he was not present at the time, he followed Iwazaki, the eldest son of the consortium, and did a lot of things on weekdays. Therefore, this follow-up counselor had a relatively good understanding of his eldest son's character. Based on Iwazaki's incomplete narration, he roughly understood after deducing the whole story. I have to say that although he has the title of dog-headed military advisor, this follower is still quite quick-witted. Seeing the almost distorted expression on Iwazaki's pretty face, although the follow-up counselor hadn't completely figured out what happened, he roughly guessed that his young master seemed to have failed this time. However, seeing his young master's angry look, the follower was a little confused. Logically speaking, with his young master's character, he was just dealing with a mere star. There was no need to be so angry, right? Just like the newcomer who just debuted last time, he ridiculed his young master at first, but in the end he just used some tricks, and finally ended up getting into the young master's bed. That bitch, if you don't know how to appreciate someone, then don't blame me. A gloomy look flashed in Iwazaki's eyes. Looking at the follower who was in a meditative state, a sinister smile appeared on his face. Yamashita, this time the matter is left to you. Just like last time, as a reward after the work is completed, that woman can also let you, hee. Thank you, Master. Thinking back to the female star from before, and then thinking about this time's target, Rina Ogata, the follow-up counselor named Yamashita, a lewd smile appeared on her face. Yamashita's eyes moved quickly, thinking about it, and he began to talk to Iwazaki's pretty face with anticipation. Master, why don't you try something new this time, such as sneaking in late at night, or directly? In that case, I'll leave it to you. Iwazaki's face became more and more excited as he listened, with a cruel smile on his lips. Humph. What kind of idol star? To put it bluntly, it's not as good as some high-end ones. Wait until I get tired of playing with it. Now, put the videos and photos online. As the target of Iwazaki little white face this time, Yamashita naturally investigated the information in detail. However, because of the existence of Sebastian, who is known as the almighty butler behind a certain Chuyunibu, Yamashita can only investigate part of the information about Rina, which is just a little more than ordinary fans, and the authenticity is questionable. For example, Rina's residence was replaced by a certain Chuyunibu barrier by Sebastian. For another example, in the previous incident about a certain purple-haired bastard, Takahashi Makoto, who once appeared as the Black Knight Zero, was replaced by Sebastian with a bad taste as just a Chuyunibu delusion paranoid. By the way, not only the process of Takahashi Makoto exerting Chuyunibu pressure on Iwazaki little white face before, but even the content of the wretched master-servant conversation just now was all recorded by Sebastian, who was hiding in the dark, through excellent eavesdropping equipment. I just thought there would be an entertainment program to make the young master happy. Sebastian hid in the dark, listening to Iwazaki and his servant, who had already started discussing how to play the game of flying together, and a devilish smile appeared on his face. It will be very interesting after telling the young master about this, right? Although killing people is not allowed, but, oh. At this time, according to the young master, everything is the choice of Stein's gate. Sebastian, there is something you need to do now. On the other end of the phone, Takahashi Makoto's voice sounded a little excited. When Rina appears, how Inkuma, will lead the night parade of 100 demons as the Lord of Demons, so you have to. Yes, Master. I understand. After hanging up the phone, Sebastian squinted his eyes and smiled expectantly. Night parade of 100 demons? I'm really looking forward to seeing the wonderful performance later, in every sense. In the empty room, Sebastian, who had just entered the intelligence expert mode with headphones, was gone at this moment. Only Sebastian's devilish whispers echoed in the room. Things are really getting more and more interesting, he. Well, I've been a little stuck recently. I thought this hidden mission couldn't be triggered. Today, let a certain cat plan it carefully, about Makoto's night parade of 100 demons. Please don't expect too much, You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 226. Rina performed on stage twice. In addition to singing a song with the little face at the beginning, there was also a solo performance in the middle of the concert. Originally, Makoto Takahashi just wanted to be an audience and enjoy Rina's charm as a witch on the stage. It was just because of the incident with a little white face that made Makoto Takahashi a little angry about Ogata's behavior, so he planned to launch 100 Demons Night Parade and intrude on this performance. So now Ogata Eiji, who has calculated Takahashi Makoto once, doesn't know that the next performance will not go as smoothly as planned. Makoto-kun, are you really going to do this? Before going on stage, Rina looked at Takahashi Makoto with some curiosity. A trace of helplessness flashed across her face. If I do this, my brother. It's just a slime, don't think too much about it. Takahashi Makoto's figure was hidden in the darkness, and his clothes could not be seen, only his voice could be heard. Even if Ogata's slime suddenly turns on the million evolution mode, I have a perfect plan to deal with it. Okay then. But Rina looked at the figure in the darkness, took a deep breath, and showed an expectant smile on her face. It's the first time to be on stage with Makoto-kun since the school festival. Before the war is over, before the gods have before falling, I, Fengguangai Yuankuma, could not spread my wings of freedom and fly in the sky with you. The witch, after pondering for a moment, Takahashi Makoto sighed helplessly. Sorry, witch Rina, the wheel of fate has begun to turn, so. No, Makoto-kun, Rina, I am already very satisfied. Rina lowered her head and did not look up at Takahashi Makoto. All along, Rina, I have always been chasing Makoto-kun's footsteps, wanting to catch up with Makoto-kun, wanting to be able to be with Makoto-kun, so, tonight, let Rina be willful again, Makoto-kun. Because, tonight's concert will be the last performance of Rina, Ogata Rina. Without giving Takahashi Makoto any chance to speak, Rina suddenly raised her head. A very bright smile appeared on her face, turned to the other side of the stage, closed her eyes, and quietly waited for the right time to appear. So far, everything in the concert has been carried out according to Ogata Eiji's expectations. Of course, there are some unexpected developments, such as the little face who is singing hard on the stage. As a newcomer, the performance of the little face on the stage has ignited the atmosphere of the entire concert. Although some audiences in the audience have some resentment about Ogata Rina only appearing once at the opening, but with the excellent performance of the little face, many audiences are gradually addicted to the concert, and the previous resentment has dissipated a lot. But newcomers are newcomers. It is too early to want to support the entire concert by themselves. Especially when facing some sudden situations, the immature newcomers are inexperienced and may cause fatal problems. For example, right now, the little Shao who was singing on the stage was slightly distracted because he saw the strange outfit of Makoto Takahashi on the side of the stage, so the rhythm of the little Shao was disturbed, and the ability to control the scene was also lifted. That bastard Makoto Takahashi, what's the matter with that weird look? Ogata Eiji, who was sitting in the audience, also noticed this situation, and showed a surprised expression on his face. He followed the little Shao's gaze and looked over. Although a figure with a strange outfit flashed by, there was no need to think too much. The roar of the sister control soul and the regret of a certain middle school student in his mind instantly determined that the person was Makoto Takahashi. The first person to react to the behavior of the disruptor Makoto Takahashi was naturally Rina, who had the title of witch. Seeing the little Shao entering a state of distraction, although she was also curious about Makoto Takahashi's strange outfit, at this time, Rina still chose to appear immediately to relieve the pressure on the little Shao. Although most of the audience below the stage noticed the mistake of the small face, Rina's sudden appearance completely ignited the atmosphere. Listening to the cheers from the audience, Ogata Eiji breathed a sigh of relief, and there was some helplessness between his eyebrows. Compared with the small face who just debuted, Rina, who has debuted for a while, is indeed more popular. Why is Rina? Although Rina's timely appearance shared the pressure of the small face, Ogata Eiji's face was gloomy, because according to the previous plan, there was still some time before Rina's appearance. Coming out so early means, Ogata Eiji squinted his eyes and looked at the side of the stage, trying to find someone, but there was no one there. Sure enough, it was that bastard Makoto Takahashi who did it. Although Ogata Eiji's angry voice was drowned out by the cheers of the audience, the angry look on his face was still clearly seen by Makoto Takahashi, who was hiding behind the stage. Well, in the end, Ogata Eiji's anger towards Makoto Takahashi was well conveyed in this weird way. After Rina stepped onto the stage, she was full of aura and completely controlled the situation that was a little out of control before, and collaborated with the little face to sing this song. During the singing process, the little face also received Rina's eye hints. After the collaboration was completed, he bowed slightly to the audience, turned around and walked backstage, leaving the entire stage to Rina. "Thank you for your continued support." Linai gently stroked her abdomen with her left hand, took a deep breath, and a resolute look appeared on her face. Her slender shoulders began to tremble because of nervousness or excitement. "Linai, today, I want to tell you something." "Linai, I." Looking at Linai's expression on the stage, Ogata Eiji frowned and stood up to stop her, but after thinking about it, he sat down again, muttering someone's name and gritting his teeth. I guess he must be very resentful, right? Oh my, is this the surprise that the witch tried so hard to hide? Well, I roughly understand. Takahashi Makoto hid backstage, looking at Rina's trembling back due to excitement. After a long silence, he sighed helplessly, and then asked Sebastian, who was in an unknown location, "Sebastian, you have been here all the time, right? How are the preparations?" "Yes, master, everything is ready." Sebastian's voice came from above Takahashi Makoto's head, and as always, He could only hear his voice but not see him. But master, do we need to change the plan? Rina-sama is. No. Rather, it's better this way. Takahashi Makoto took a deep breath, closed his eyes and entered the charging mode. The night parade of 100 demons of the Lord of Demons is about to start, so, I'll leave the assistance to you, Sebastian. Everything is as you wish, master. No, it's the Lord of Demons, His Majesty Howwinkuma. There are 2 more chapters today. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist Male. Chapter 227. Thank you all for your continued support. Without your support, Rina and I would not be able to get where I am today. Thank you very much, everyone who can come here today. Because Rina and I are here, there is one thing that I must tell everyone. This Ogata Office's concert will be Rina's last time singing on stage as a singer. Please forgive Rina for being willful. I'm really sorry. After today, I will leave the entertainment industry. When Rina appeared on the stage, the venue was filled with cheers, but now a large-scale silence magic was cast. Because of Rina's sudden burst of information, the audience, who had been cheering just now, fell into a brief state of consternation. Hey, are you lying? This is the last time. Your Highness Princess Rina, please don't abandon us. No, why did you make such a decision suddenly? Why do you want to leave suddenly? We need to explain. After a brief moment of astonishment, the audience was in an uproar, and the sound of discussion even overwhelmed Rina, who was holding the microphone. Faced with the chaos in the audience, Rina on the stage was extremely calm. She just smiled and bowed frequently to apologize to the audience. As expected, Rina, you really did this, Ogata Ag sighed, leaned weakly on the back of the chair, looked at Rina, who was still smiling on the stage with a troubled expression, and murmured in a low voice, although it's very early, I expected this day to come, but when I actually faced it, it was still. As a young face who had already known about Rina's decision, he ran to the stage again and made a temporary guest appearance as the host. Instead of the audience, he asked the answer that everyone was eager to know. This was something the two of them had discussed in advance. Even Ogata Ag was kept in the dark and had no idea. Rina's choice to become an artist is actually not because she has been longing for the entertainment industry since she was a child, as everyone thinks, but... Rina bowed several times and spoke again. The venue, which had been extremely noisy before, gradually fell into a quiet atmosphere. Although the audience at the scene still finds it difficult to accept the fact that Rina decided to leave, many people are curious and want to know what happened that prompted Rina to choose to leave. Rina just told a story, that is, how a girl with love used her own way to clumsily try to chase the object of her heart little by little. Although the story sounds very simple and ordinary, the audience at the scene was deeply moved at this moment. The female viewers were filled with admiration for Rina's infatuation and persistence, while the male viewers were envious and jealous of that cartoonist that Rina called her. Rina is a good woman. But Aiken, that middle school guy, is really. Hey, Mr. Yellow-haired glasses, is it okay for you to say this? Do you dare to turn your head and look at the face of your domestic violence woman? You will definitely have to squeeze into the sofa with Landai again at night? What is Landai thinking about? Do you need to ask this? Of course she is the voice actress sister, but is this okay? By the way, didn't you agree not to meet before getting married? Now we are holding hands, hey, we are all hugging each other, where is our moral integrity? The pretty girl Iwazaki in the VIP room had a gloomy expression on her face. She threw the wine glass in her hand to the ground and stared at Rina. Ever since he met Rina at a banquet, Iwazaki pretty boy was determined to get this innocent and lovely person into his bed, and launched several offensives, but Rina remained unmoved. I originally thought that Rina just had a cold personality, and her iceberg beauty attributes further stimulated Iwazaki's pretty face, But now after hearing what Rina said, Iwazaka's pretty face suddenly felt like she was being teased. I thought it was someone, I didn't expect that bitch to have been. The Iwazaka pretty boy, whose resentment deepened, thought he was very secretive in the private room, so he vented his vicious curses without any care. There were also many manga fans in the audience, so many people had already guessed that the manga artist Rina mentioned was Makoto Takahashi. After all, the two people attending the Rebel celebration party together before were still fresh in the memory of the audience who were looking forward to the second season of Rebel. However, seeing that there were only two people on the empty stage, Rina and Xiao Xiaoman, many audience members who were both manga fans and Rina fans felt a little disappointed, because the manga artist Rina talked about did not appear at this moment. Of course, there are also many male viewers who are quite disdainful of a certain cartoonist, as today's protagonist, Her Royal Highness Princess Rina spoke openly about her love affair, but as the male protagonist, a certain cartoonist actually made a contraction at turtle. How can such a courageous rat be worthy of Her Royal Highness Princess Rina? Who is that cartoonist? Did he also come to the scene today? You cartoonist who wants to take away Princess Rina. Princess Rina is talking about you. Do you dare to come out? While Rina's story moved the audience, they couldn't help but become curious, who is the cartoonist Rina mentioned? At the beginning, it was just a small-scale booing, but because some people with ulterior motives mingled in the crowd and quietly released the magic card fluctuation spread, the booing in the entire venue gradually became unified. The target is directly at Makoto Takahashi. Tisk tisk tisk, it seems that after today, the number of enemy camps will increase significantly again. Takahashi Makoto scratched his head, adjusted the eye mask on his face, turned on the headset, and showed a weird smile on his face. Sebastian. Just as the audience below the stage were collectively booing, white mist suddenly appeared on the stage. Looking at this change on the stage, Ogata Ag shook his head helplessly, took out the headphones from his jacket pocket, put them in his ears, adjusted the volume to the maximum, and slowly closed his eyes. Ogata Ag didn't want to see what was going to happen next, and didn't want to see it. When the white mist gradually dissipated, the audience below the stage were all stunned. If a girl wears cat ears on her head, cat claw gloves on her hands, cat claw shoes on her feet, and a cat tail behind her, many people will exclaim at the first time, "Look, a cute cat girl." But what Takahashi Makoto is wearing is definitely not a cat man's costume, it is completely a cat-like doll costume, and it is still a round and fat cat shape. Most of Takahashi Makoto's clothes are white, with orange and gray patterns on his head. His eyes are inverted crescents with 3 red dots on the corners of his eyes. He even has a bell on his neck, which is unique to the lucky cat. The weirdest thing is that this cat-shaped creature walking upright has a long sword slung across his waist. The outfit of Nyaguchi Sanzen and Samurai looks quite weird, which naturally shocked many audiences, but what really surprised the audience was still to come. Rina, marry me and become my wife. A huge cat-shaped creature hugged Rina from behind, and the voice was transmitted to the ears of the audience through the headset. This time I will bring some men to pick you up, so don't refuse me. Before the white fog dissipated, some audiences in the front row vaguely saw some figures flashing in the white fog. When the white fog on the stage completely dissipated, the scene that shocked the audience in the whole hall appeared. The stage had become a gathering place for cats and dogs. At a glance, it was full of dogs and cats. The weirdest thing was that all these cats and dogs seemed to be trained and guarded Takahashi Makoto and Rina. Hey, Takashi, this scene. The man with yellow glasses looked at the stage in disbelief and complained to his good friend, "It seems that That's it." Landai had better eyesight and naturally saw the cat and dog closest to Takahashi Makoto. Sadaharu and Ruri from Aiken's family are here. Wait, Aiken just said that these cats and dogs are all his subordinates. In other words, in order to protect the safety of Her Highness the Princess, to protect Her Highness the Princess's honor, and to implement the will of love and truth. Takahashi Makoto was wearing cat claws, so he was not very smooth in drawing his sword. That's right, I am Takahashi Makoto, the Lord of Demons and Monsters, the crazy cartoonist, Howin Kyoma. Meow. All the white cats meowed. Woof woof. All the dogs barked. So Princess Rina is accepted by me. Well, that's it. Takahashi Makoto picked up Rina in a princess hug and staggered off the stage. Huh, the audience was stunned, hit by a large petrification curse. Well, that's it, everyone should go to bed early. Originally, a certain cat was going to start the dark route because of some things, but after thinking about it, I decided to forget it. This book was originally a happy route. If it went into the dark route, many readers would feel resentful. Although that certain cat felt very happy. He. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist Mao. Chapter 228. Just as Ogata Ag had expected before, Takahashi Makoto really abducted Rina in the middle of her concert. Although he had vaguely felt this way before, when it actually happened, Ogata Ag was still a little depressed. If a woman's romance is the stage and performance, then a man's romance is the battlefield and the drill. Makoto Takahashi, the self-proclaimed crazy manga artist from the Phoenix Institute, successfully led an army of cats and dogs at a concert hosted by Ogata office, completed the Hayaki Night Walk, and also captured a witch Rina. The romance of men and the romance of women, two goals are achieved at the same time, which is gratifying. Congratulations! The news about Makoto Takahashi and Rina spread at an alarming speed. The next morning, all major media outlets used exaggerated lengths and headlines to tell the story. In fact, love stories between idol stars and popular cartoonists have happened several times in real life, but the reason why it caused such a sensation may be because of someone's excessive performance. Princess Rina and the Lord of Demons and Demons, their love spread from comics to reality. The Phoenix Academy will tell you what the Night Parade of 100 Ghosts means. The comic comes from life, the Phoenix Academy's vicious night show of 100 ghosts. The princess who works hard for love Ogata Rina and the true love story of Phoenix Academy. Whether on TV, in newspapers, or on the internet, these related words are full of them. After all, what happened at the concert is too beyond the scope of normal human cognition. Of course, what we are referring to here is not the announcement of Rina's relationship, nor is it the behavior of Makoto Takahashi who abducted Rina in midfield, but Makoto Takahashi's excessive behavior, especially as the master of demons and monsters, leading the shocking scene when the army of cats and dogs appears. Of course, as an idol star, especially one that is loved by the public, once he announces his relationship, fans who have always liked him will have some resentment and regret, causing his popularity to plummet. Although Rina, I have decided to quit the entertainment industry and don't care about these things at all. However, as a magazine that publishes Phoenix Institute's murderous comics, Shonen Jump has gloriously become the scapegoat this time and has become the target of criticism with resentment and regret. I can't find Makoto Takahashi, nor can I find Hohoin Kuma, it doesn't matter. His pseudonym is Takahashi Makoto Hohoin Kuma, and isn't he currently serializing comics in Shonen Jump? If you want to know anything, just call the editorial department and ask. So, the long-awaited phone storm hit the editorial side again, and it was even more ferocious than last time. In the past, most of the people who called were just arguing about the content of the comic. However, this time, the people who called had a species change. Fans who supported the relationship between the two were opposed to the two. Fans of romance, fans who feel that Takahashi Makoto is not worthy of Rina, and fans who feel that Rina is not worthy of Takahashi Makoto, launched the fourth round of discussions in the editorial department of Shonen Jump through phone calls Holy Grail. No, it must have entered an inexplicable multi-party melee mode. The battlefield is of course the editorial office of Shonen Jump. Therefore, I am very happy that all members of the editorial side of Shonen Jump have once again suffered a disaster, ahem, well, in fact, Makoto Takahashi sympathizes deeply with this. Fortunately, Makoto Takahashi still maintains the status of updating 3 comics at the same time. By the way, if at this time, Makoto Takahashi comes up with an excuse like I want to take Princess Rina on a honeymoon and stops all updates, maybe under the instigation of some troublemakers or shady butlers, maybe this Yurong Club with a long history, a magazine that carries the dreams of young girls, will end its life and burn up. Cheng, you bastard, look at the good things you have done. Yoshida, who had survived the storm of phone calls, rushed to Takahashi Makoto's house immediately and complained to Takahashi Makoto. If you continue like this, you will probably drive the entire editorial department crazy. Eh? How is that possible? Makoto Takahashi stopped painting and looked at Yoshida, whose eyes were red, with a thoughtful look on his face. After a while, he slowly said, "Hey, my beloved cat, follow my instructions according to previous calculations. As long as the state lasts for a year, the accumulated dark energy will be able to summon the great holy grail that can fulfill any wish at the center of the organization's base camp. At that time, as long as the appropriate summons is made according to the rules of the Holy Grail War, servants participated in the battle." 1 year, Yoshida screamed. "This state will continue for another year. Takahashi Makoto, do you really want to destroy the editorial department? No, 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 this kind of thing shouldn't be possible. If it lasts for a few months at most, it's already amazing. After all, it is the instinct of human beings to forget easily. Ah, my beloved cat, it seems that you, like me, feel that 1 year is too long." Makoto Takahashi completely ignored the livid Yoshida, spun the brush in his hand, and began to talk frantically. "My own plan, if this is the case, then starting from next week, face the humans in the neutral camp and forcefully use a wide range of attack magic. As long as these hypocritical neutrals are allowed to join the hostile camp with resentment, the dark energy will be absorbed. The efficiency may be improved to a higher level." "Well," I decided happily. Hey, Chen, what do you want to do?" Yoshida suddenly felt that it was a misfortune to hear some common idioms of middle school after spending so much time with Takahashi Makoto. Listening to what Takahashi Makoto said, it seemed that he would. "What is it, my beloved cat, aren't you very clear?" Takahashi Makoto handed the comic manuscript on the table to Yoshida. "Didn't I tell you before? The 3 comics are finished at the same time. This kind of loving practice is the great existence that we have always pursued. But unfortunately, it's not the time yet. It will take some time to complete the synchronization secret technique." "Ah, that's great." The one who gritted his teeth was naturally Yoshida with a gloomy face. However, after quickly flipping through the comic manuscript of Nura, Oni, Yoshida was relieved, because judging from the content of the comic, this comic is still some time away from completion. But what puzzled Yoshida was that Takahashi Makoto kept peeking at the comic manuscript in his hand from time to time, as if he was worried about something. "Aiken, is there any problem with this comic draft?" "No, it's just..." Takahashi Chen hesitated for a moment, secretly glanced at the closed bedroom door, and whispered in a very resentful tone, "It's just that Witch Rina was harassed by those bastards' rumors one after another, so this made me very unhappy. Since this is unhappy, so, you know, my cat." With dead fish eyes and a brief silence, Yoshida began to charge for the subsequent roar attack. "I don't understand your sister. I held the idea that you can change before. It's my fault. You are unhappy so you have to make the readers unhappy. What kind of logic is this? By the way, Chen, you. Of course, for my believers, this is a rare opportunity to experience divinity, but for the neutral hypocritical camp and hostile organizations, it is a purge revolution. Takahashi Makoto seems to have switched to black mode, indiscriminate full screen attack, all of this is the choice of Stonegate. Ha ha ha. Wait, that is to say, in this comic draft. Are you realizing the key problem now, Yoshida? No, Yoshida just wants to take advantage of Takahashi Makoto's entry into the crazy second stage to get more information. Excluding the conventional Nura, ONI, which one is it? Humph. There is only one truth. In response to Yoshida's guess, Makoto Takahashi borrowed the classic lines of a certain elementary school student of the God of Death and gave a hint with disdain, "My beloved cat, this is just the beginning. I can tell you responsibly that this time, my Phoenix Inukin is really angry, and the consequences will definitely be very serious, so, look forward to the end of the world with me, my beloved cat." The hard overtime is here again, more accurate than the blood loss status once a month. When I saw this chapter, a certain cat was already on the way to overtime. Meow, if there is no overtime pay or anything, why do you have to work so hard? The unit at night, looking forward to the arrival of the Holy Grail. So, there is only one update today. A certain cat has already set off. Ah, by the way, don't get stuck in the elevator again, for the sake of a certain cat's update today. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist. Chapter 229. According to human understanding of the normal world, there will always be some signs before the end of the world, such as a big green snake suddenly appearing, flying down from the beam, coiling in the room, and then the snake will disappear again. Another example is a female snake. The chicken transforms into a male, and finally returns to chaos and evolves into black air, wandering in the sky. In short, according to the words of the ancients, when troubled times begin or the doomsday comes, there must be a natural sign. So my beloved is a cat. Although in the future I, the Phoenix Academy, will become a tyrant and a great demon king that will wreak havoc on the world, at this stage, in order to act as a qualified demon king, of course I have to give some tips to the mortal ants. Facing the horse-faced Yoshida, Takahashi Makoto did not stop drawing the manga manuscript, although I also want to go directly to the third stage of the Demon King's transformation, slap the Earth King to death, but suddenly I feel that boiling frogs in warm water is actually quite loving. I really prefer tortured souls. I knew it would be like this. Yoshida was powerless, and brought the manga manuscript to Takahashi Makoto's desk. I was thinking about it before. Obviously this manga has always been about adventure. With the theme of root, why does such content suddenly appear? Sure enough, you did it on purpose, right? As an editor, I still suggest that you revise it slightly. After all, this sentence. Yada. Yada, he just shook his head. Because the witch Rina and the assistant's female combat power were not available, Takahashi Makoto did not lie on the ground and roll. Makoto Takahashi, who had specially cultivated his cuteness skills to the master level, now activated it without hesitation. Fortunately, the witch Rina has teamed up with the female combatants on the assistant side. Otherwise, seeing Makoto Takahashi's current mode of being cute and unscrupulous, he would definitely not be able to withstand Makoto Takahashi's cuteness attack. Yoshida will definitely do it in the future. Being put on the list of targets for subjugation, and then being kicked out unceremoniously, probably. But the content of this chapter. Yoshida rubbed his eyes, his tone full of exhaustion. Someone who was depressed by the content of the comic last night told the truth. I always feel that after reading it, I feel quite depressed. My beloved cat, since even you feel depressed like this. Makoto Takahashi stopped painting and slowly flipped through the manga manuscript. After pondering for a long time, he raised his head and looked at Yoshida with squinted eyes. It gave off a bright light, It seems to be just as I expected, the effect is outstanding. But what? Yoshida couldn't tell at all, because after reading the content of Inuyasha last night, Yoshida felt that something was wrong with him. Although as an editor, Yoshida has read countless comics, but the content of the new chapter Inuyasha still touched Yoshida a lot. In short, the content of the comics is too sharp in its crusade against the despicable nature of human nature. So sharp that Yoshida can hardly bear it. Oh, my beloved cat, I've wanted to ask you before, and now it's almost time to decide, which camp do you choose? Makoto Takahashi turned around and looked at Yoshida with his right eye squinted. Putting down the paintbrush in his hand, he gently pulled out the magic sword Broken Star. The wavering attitude is the scum's straight line reserve. If you still stubbornly choose the neutral camp or the hostile camp, then... I haven't thought about my last words yet. Yoshida saw a dangerous light flashing in Makoto Takahashi's right eye, immediately entered the supercomputing mode, and made the right choice in the shortest time. Hey! I thought I could switch to the murderer mode. Makoto Takahashi curled his lips in displeasure, put the magic sword back into its scabbard, completely ignored Yoshida's livid face, and continued to release threats and coercion. But it looks like he seems very unwilling to accept it. Rejoice. I am in a good mood today and can provide you with a free psychological counseling session. Psychological counseling, then, that's really, thank you, Chen. Yoshida seemed to have thought of something, and his body entered shaking mode. Yoshida tried his best to control his facial expression, and he must not show hey, at this time. I knew it would be like this. Or unfortunately, and other expressions, because once he shows that expression, his life will be worse than death. The picture is so beautiful that Yoshida cannot even imagine it. There is actually no big problem with this episode of Inuyasha, at least compared to the subsequent plot of Kikyo's death. It's not too much. The reason why Yoshida felt a little depressed was entirely because of the content of this episode, the content of the story told, and the transformation was too sharp. Well, like a sharp sword, it points directly at the most vulnerable side of human nature. In the comic Inuyasha, there have been many wizards, such as the Maitreya Master who is more closely related to the protagonist, and the brain-dead man who was too stupid to challenge Sesshomaru as a mortal and overestimated his abilities, but was given a good education. Master Yunya who has a philosophy of life, and in this episode, Sweetheart Bai who just appeared. After all, Maitreya is stained with some of the protagonist's halo, so regardless of the difference in strength, just from the perspective of luck, Maitreya is already invincible. If Maitreya is a cheating archer, then Master Yunya is definitely not as good as a spearman, as a mage. Even if Maitreya has the protection of the protagonist's halo, he only dares to challenge the half-demon Naraku, and Master Yunya, you are just a supporting role, but you challenge the big monsters Shimaru. I guess after being well educated by Lords Shimaru, your body and soul have understood what it means to be dead or not. Speaking of Bai Zinchangaran, it is better to say that he is a partner of justice rather than a mage, not a pirated heroic spirit. The background setting of Inuyasha is an era of endless wars and famines. If it is said that the monster's wanton killing and eating of people is out of instinct, then the killing and crusade of humans against their own kind is due to the despicable nature of human beings. Master Bai Xian was a powerful, kind-hearted, and selfless monk in his lifetime. For the suffering humans, Master Bai Xian would always share his only food, regardless of his own kindness, so that the creatures called humans respected Master Bai Xian very much, and even gradually worshipped Master Bai Xian as the god in their hearts, becoming the only belief to survive. Sometimes, it is not natural disasters or man-made disasters that lead to the extinction of mankind, but the loss of belief in survival. However, no matter how great Master Bai Xian was, he was just a human being after all. Unable to escape the ravages of the disease, unable to get off the list of the god of death, even if he became a lifelong admired existence, he was just a human being after all. Facing people's confusion, fear, and helplessness, Master Baixian, who was dying, decided to transform into a Buddha so that he could protect this land after his death. People did as he told them, put him in a wooden barrel, buried him underground and left only one pipe to breathe with the outside world, and let Bai Xinchang stay in the barrel without food or water until he died, so that he could become a living Buddha and continue to bless this land and people. When Yoshida saw this, he was really shocked. Even if Bai Xinchang was terminally ill, he was unwilling to give up saving humanity. It was really great. However, the latter part of the comics entered a shocking reversal mode. This is also the root cause of Yoshida's depression. In the moment of despair, many people will swear and keep telling themselves that if they grit their teeth and persist, they will be able to break through the shackles of darkness and welcome the arrival of hope, but unfortunately, those despairs that can be broken free are just a joke of fate. Because real despair cannot be resisted by anyone. So when Bai Xinchang faced the inescapable despair of death at the last moment of his life, his faith was shaken, and he began to regret what he had done before, and even hated those humans he had rescued. At this moment, the death of Shiraishin also came. In the last time, he died with resentment and regret. He who died with resentment naturally could not become a living Buddha, and could only be a fierce ghost at most. In the last part of this comic, Shiraishin was comforted by Nariku's words, and he shed tears of gratitude and redemption, and was willing to open a sacred barrier for Nariku to enter Bailing Mountain to protect Nariku from being hunted down by Inuyasha and his party, thinking of Shiraishin, who wanted to save and persuade mankind and become a righteous partner for mankind, but was brainwashed and used by the most evil leader of the evil party in the world. Yoshida was really depressed. Let the righteous partner become an employee of the leader of the evil party. This kind of behavior that blasphemes purity is the so-called evil. Although it is necessary for the plot, but, as expected, I still can't accept it. Yoshida sighed helplessly, put the comic manuscript on the table, and leaned his head back on the sofa. After all, a being like Bai Xinchang, at the beginning. Humph. A simple justice partner without his own selfish desires, is that kind of saint admired by everyone really a human? Bai Xinchang is just a human after all. He needs to feel sorry when doing good to others. Otherwise, he will inevitably be hostile and betrayed by the world, and this is just the beginning of the despicable nature of human beings. But, is it just this level that is unacceptable? Takahashi Makoto shook his head disdainfully. Tisk. You have been my cat for some time, but I didn't expect you to be so vulnerable. It seems that I need to re-evaluate you. Don't compare a normal human like me with a twisted soul like you. Yoshida no longer had the strength to perform the roar skill. Instead, his tone was filled with a sense of powerlessness. Hey, Chen, why do you want to draw such content? Before the witch shed tears, she had the power to shake the world, but after losing this power, she became a heretic that everyone criticized. Takahashi Cheng's face showed a hint of gloom. I clearly witnessed the birth of a miracle, but in addition to being surprised, I also had strong doubts and suspicions. Human beings are such despicable creatures, they are really heretics that should be eliminated. After the news of Takahashi Cheng and Rina was exposed, many people were surprised at first and just watched and watched. However, in just a few days, more and more unfavorable comments appeared. Even if Takahashi Cheng ignored all mental attacks because of his middle school attributes, the title of which can only reach the level of a magician with unlimited magic power at most. Immunity to mental attacks is not yet possible. So after the witch lost all her magic power due to tears, she also lost her smile on her face, although she tried to hide it. Forcing a smile sometimes makes people around her feel even more heartbroken. As a result, is it related to that incident? Yoshida shook his head helplessly. Now Takahashi Makoto has gradually stepped into the path of evil. Although as an editor, he has a strong sense of responsibility and keeps reminding Yoshida to persuade Takahashi Makoto, but Speaking of Aiken State, I don't want to stop it, maybe no one can stop it. A cat personally thinks that the section of Bai's Inchangaran is indeed one of the most exciting stories in Inuyasha. When I watched it back then, I didn't think it was anything special. Now looking back, I am definitely drunk. The coyote plot is full of visual sense. Speaking of which, the dog time is many years earlier than the Holy Grail. Well, it's just my personal feeling. A middle school cartoonist. Author, MaleProtagonist Mao. Chapter 230. Makoto-kun, come and help me move. Before Rina could finish her words, Takahashi Makoto hung up the phone in an unusual and unscientific manner. Ah! Why did Chang-kun suddenly hang up the phone? Looking at the message on the phone that the call had ended, Rina tilted her head in confusion. Let's try again. Chang-kun, come and help me move, hey. The phone got hung up again. Come and help me move, that stupid witch, how dare you say it so brazenly, don't you know this is a forbidden curse? In order to prevent the curse from appearing again, Takahashi Makoto hung up the phone for the second time. Decisively chose to shut down. As for the reason for hanging up the phone. According to the plot in a certain song, after helping the girls move, the artist's girls will die of incurable diseases. As a manga artist, Makoto Takahashi, hanging up the phone is completely a subconscious reaction, because according to Makoto Takahashi's understanding, and the setting of this world, cartoonists also belong to the category of artists. Moreover, which Rina's other profession is also that of an entertainer, this means that after moving, maybe it was Takahashi Makoto who was stalked by the terminally ill woman and killed. In a sense, Takahashi Makoto Hashimoto can also be called Witch Rina's girl. There is no explanation for forced substitution or empathy. Continuing with the topic just now, my familiar cat. Makoto Takahashi ignored Yoshida's strange and confused look, put his phone back into the pocket of his white coat, sorted out the manga manuscript in his hand, and looked expectant on his face. His expression said, according to the information you provided before, many readers are quite dissatisfied with the previous chapter of Inuyasha. That's of course. After all, in the comics, Naruko's power has been deeply rooted in people's hearts. Whiteheart was obviously a well-meaning eminent monk during his lifetime, but now he was bewitched by Naruko with a few words and dragged into Inuyasha's hostile camp. Yoshida began to complain for a long time, especially after getting the statistical results, looking at the decline of Inuyasha, and finally caught this hard-won opportunity to preach to Takahashi Makoto. I told you before, come on, it's not okay to draw like this. Hey, what's going on with that broken smile of yours? Cheng, are you listening to me carefully again? Because I rejected the witch's request for help, I'm worried about the hatchet subplot, so I'm currently saving it. By the way, can things like life be saved? Continuing with the topic just now, my beloved cat. By the way, Makoto Takahashi, did you say the exact same words to prove that the archive has been successful? Yoshida was completely speechless. Sure enough, he had a Chuyunibu or something and couldn't communicate normally. Speaking of Cheng, what do you think? In fact, what Yoshida wants to ask is not only about comics, but also Makoto Takahashi's understanding of life. Because we are an evil party, can we not have faith? The so-called good and evil are just false excuses for human beings to kill each other. Makoto Takahashi sighed, lifted the black tea on the table and took a sip. With one mouthful, oh, my beloved cat, is it true that your superficial understanding still cannot reach the level of shattering the void? Many years later, when you become a human killer, you stand in the void and look down at the ants called humans. When the time comes, you will eventually understand. What we are talking about now is comics. Comics. What the hell is shattered void? Yoshida has entered the stage of going berserk and crazy. However, after years of training, Yoshida has finally mastered the method of not losing his mind in rage. Ability. It's really not easy when you think about it. Yoshida's path of spiritual practice is so evocative. It wasn't until the last moment of Sweetheart Bakeson's life that I felt that he was a real person, a person with an awakened selfishness. The saint-like existence before should have been placed too much hope by creatures like humans who don't know how to cherish it. It's just a mechanical program of hope, suddenly jumping to the topic of White Heart. Even though Yoshida is used to Takahashi Makoto's jumping thinking, his brain is still a little bit unable to get over it. Human beings are because of their own inferior selfish desires. You cannot become a saint, and this is the same even for enlightened monks. So by defining Naraku as a villain, you have subconsciously chosen the wrong way of understanding it from the beginning. Although this statement is not wrong, I still feel a little. The invincible mode of the second mouth gun is activated, and Yoshida cannot defend. Dirty is clean, and pure is dirty, good is evil, and evil is good. It's not that Makoto Takahashi can show off his professional knowledge in philosophy, it's just a nursery rhyme from Bai Lingshan in the comics. Perhaps for you ordinary people, the transformation of Sweetheart Whiteheart is a bit incredible, but in my opinion, this is just the instinct of human beings to release their inferior nature, although I would like to say that it is the choice of Steins Gate, but this time unfortunately, this is the inevitable result. The result of living a lifestyle that is not for yourself but for others will naturally cause darkness and resentment to continue to accumulate until the container called the body cannot bear it and completely explode, destroying mankind and this world. The world itself, well, there is nothing wrong with it, just like what I crave now. Selfishness, greed, these are actually just human nature. Didn't the commander say that comics come from life? But because of the awakening of these inferior human natures, I have reached a point where I can't bear it. Seemingly even angrier than Yoshida, Takahashi Makoto kept slapping the table. Although the witch wants to leave the dark world quietly, those greedy pagans and selfish fanatics still refuse to let the witch go. The human race in this world is really ruined, right? In that case, no matter what the hope or expectation, all the existence that human beings demand, let me, the Phoenix Academy Fierce One, completely destroy it. The existence that Makoto Takahashi calls heretics and fanatics are actually just so-called fans and media reporters. In just 1 week, Rina has been harassed by these people many times, and the messages and rumors are constantly being sent out. Not to mention that the attack power has an extraordinary effect on Rina, and it has even reached the point where it can break Takahashi Makoto's defense. Got it? I don't know what happened, but in just 1 week, while the celebrities were sleeping peacefully and recuperating, and the cartoonists were working hard to draw and plagiarize the original works, various media reports seemed to be affected by the evil of this world. Erosion began to enter the blackening mode, and the huge waves of the Black Sea attacked one after another. It's okay if it's just like this, but the normal lives of Makoto Takahashi and Rina have been disturbed. Reporters and fans are now staying at Ogata Slime's home and office every day. Even Takahashi Makoto will be watched whenever he goes out to do tasks or fight monsters. Although the manga artist is a kind of homebody occupation, but for daily purchases and so on, a certain middle school student said that his practice has not yet reached the inedia stage and cannot be skipped. Since a star has chosen to quit the entertainment industry, why do these people called fan reporters still make things difficult for him? He keeps saying love and liking, but what he does is completely opposite. What kind of trouble is going to happen if the hatred and resentment values are constantly refreshed? A certain cartoonist originally just wanted to be a qualified plagiarism maniac, but now he is being accused for no reason, from the content of the cartoons being harmful to the healthy development of teenagers to having problems with his character, and psychology, all because of his incarnation. Did the Lord of Demons and Monsters suffer jealousy and hatred after taking away the princess from a selfish and greedy person? Hey, my beloved cat, why did you choose to become a cartoonist? I remember you asked me this before, right? Makoto Takahashi squinted at Yoshida, and found that the other person shook his head in embarrassment, and couldn't help but he snorted coldly, "Hey." Sure enough, because he came into contact with taboo matters, his memory has been erased by the organization. Is your past a taboo? Yoshida smiled awkwardly and said nothing. This was the first time he heard of such a thing. Good cartoonists and bad cartoonists. Compared with cartoonists who choose camps like this, real cartoonists should exist because they like comics and work hard to draw comics. This world should not exist in the first place. The difference between good and evil. Makoto Takahashi picked up the comic manuscript and walked slowly to the balcony. I just feel that this world is very pitiful. Many comics have not appeared, and many classic masterpieces have not yet been born, so even if you are burdened with plagiarism, I want to become a crazy cartoonist, a simple cartoonist, so that the human beings in this world can experience the classic masterpieces of the world I live in. However, I used to have this idea in the past. It's really too sweet. This tone. Yoshida immediately chose to activate absolute defense, and at the same time quickly distanced himself from Takahashi Makoto, with a look of horror in his eyes. This expression is unmistakable. I drew it before during that comic. The greedy pagans and selfish fanatics, as well as the ferocious believers of our Phoenix Academy, no, they should be the despicable species called humans in the world. Makoto Takahashi stood on the edge of the balcony, stretching out his arms. Like a powerful overlord, shouted loudly, "My arrogant cartoonist, Phoenix Academy fierce master, hereby declares that you are all my enemies. I will treat you as objects of purge, and treat you as a crusade against heretics. I will definitely use your blood, bones, lives and souls to make this world full of inferior human beings completely occupied by despair and pain." This situation is indeed. Yoshida, who had already fallen into the face-palming mode in response to someone's speech, felt a little sad because a certain place that could not be described was very painful. Of course, Yoshida is not as worried as last time. After all, 3 comics with different styles should not have this kind of plot appear at the same time, right? Now, my beloved cat, as usual, what follows is naturally. Makoto Takahashi, who had just finished his domineering declaration to the crowd, turned to look at Yoshida, with a darkened and advanced smile on his face. The power of the plot is fully activated. Switch to the ghost mode.